Hey guys, Rinji here, once again bringing the worst out of the VTuber community. And as I always say, VTuber drama comes in all shapes and sizes, but it's usually incredibly petty. And today's example is probably some of the pettiest shit I've ever seen. It's a long one, I'm not gonna lie to you, so you better buckle up for the weirdest thing you've seen this month, probably. Or probably ever if you're not on Twitter, as I am. But let's get right into that. Recently, something was pointed out to me that I found interesting. A certain straight VTuber out there made a talk show whose goal was focused on queer individuals to share their experiences and trials because of Pride Month. I commented on their post with a passive-aggressive comment because I was genuinely curious what the true intention was. Was it truly just to be supportive of the community and not take advantage for engagement? Possibly. Only time could tell. They then responded telling me to direct my attention to their other talk shows. In which I did. They were very confident I'd find a queer-specific segment outside of Pride Month because of their response. Plot twist, there wasn't any. Not only that, the only regards to Pride or something related to the queer community that I found, correct me if I end up being wrong, was 2 posts saying Happy Pride Month with a picture of a cake accompanied by a post of Pride 2022 and 23. Just as well, having the show at the end of Pride to show your support comes off as very gimmicky and disingenuous. I'm not going to drop the name, and I hadn't ever planned on saying anything until someone sent me a clip from the show on multiple days where apparently someone had asked a question worded very similar to mine. The issue boils down here. If you show you're focused on queer experiences, why manually pick out and include something that has nothing to do with the community but instead yourself? The answer is simple. Simply wanted your guests to take your side and tear apart whoever asked that question. I didn't care enough to write it, so no, that wasn't me who submitted it. The word capitalized wasn't correct. However, tread off as taking advantage of the month and what it stood for. In my opinion, let queer content creator give their platform to other queer individuals. Because segregation is always fun and good. And if you wanted to do a LGBTQ plus focus project, do it outside of Pride. If you aren't queer yourself, an ally isn't part of the community. Thus, you shouldn't be only doing this to help our community, only on Pride. There are 11 months of the year. It's more genuine to fund one out of other year because it doesn't come off as fake. Or whenever there's Pride content during Pride Month, why not also engage in it? It doesn't mean you have some malicious or underhanded reasoning for doing so. But if you're in a cult, everything's gonna look like an enemy to you if it's not part of the same cult. Because let's not lie to ourselves. This isn't just supporting people because of their identity. This is trying to weed out people that aren't part of your little shitty cult. Let's continue though. Homie just wants to support people. The day shouldn't matter. Why bring anger to blatantly positive things that don't require it? Anger is nowhere. Initial suspicion of intent was the point of origin. My point was, while there are queer creators are being heard, I would have preferred to be done by another queer creators for Pride Month, and have allies do it any other time. If you're so mad about it, why don't you do anything yourself for it then? I did. Okay, so what's the problem then? If they're supporting that community and giving a safe space to do so, allies matter just as much too. And the explanation they tried to give me when I confronted them about it. What a weird thing to get mad about. God forbid a straight VTuber tries to be a supportive ally. Nowhere am I mad. Simply stated my opinion. My point was that I'd rather see queer content creators do things for this on Pride Month. Straight allies have 11 other months. That being said, if a genuine ally does it, so be it. Note he'd said things that made me question it. But Pride Month is literally the perfect time to make a talk show. Pride Month is also about acceptance and highlighting uplifting LGBT voices. And it's one of the best things Ally can do, which is exactly what this VTuber did. Stop gatekeeping. Which is why I stated that they can, but I can still have an opinion about it. If me saying that queer creators should be the ones giving queer folks voices during Pride Month and not allies is gatekeeping, then I guess I'll be gatekeeping for stating an opinion. So to summarize, a straight person used their privilege to hand the spotlight over to minorities, but that's a no-no because straight people are not allowed to be allies during Pride Month. Got it. If that's how you like to interpret it, sure. Cool, thanks for confirming that you enjoy being a hater. Thumbs up. Since when did our community get upset and make passive-aggressive comments about allies? You're the reason straight people hate on us so much. Let them live, and besides, giving a platform for LGBTQ plus people to speak will be a bad thing, so make it that way. Never said it was bad, simply said I prefer the queer content creators to do things like this during Pride. Yeah, it's not bad, but you question the guy's fucking intentions. Your own intentions are quite clear here, so don't even try to lie about it. Let's continue. Personal preference. Allies are great, but allies who lie about things regarding Pride sport but double down with fictitious stories is questionable. Just stop it. Let allies be ally instead of giving people a reason to hate you. I'm questioning the intent. You're making yourself look like an ignorant idiot that has nothing better to do than complain on the internet the second someone does something that you don't like. Everyone is able to question a person's intent and character. If someone lies, then it's not hard to be skeptical of things they do. Some people may be willing to overlook things, but it's trickier when they double down on lies, leaving the impression on you that they're dishonest. And let's take a look about what this dishonesty actually involved, because that's the more ridiculous part of it. Here's Dancho Horeng, the person that is actually being talked about, this straight VTuber, this evil, underhanded person that is trying to capitalize of Pride Month. Let's see what he has to say. Hello, I am the subtweeted straight person with the LGBTQIA+ platform. I apologize about the cake and now they've shared my DMs with them out of context. I will state I had nothing to do with the bashing / quote retweeting they received. That's 100% on them with their take. Continue. And this is what they say here. I made a tweet during the beginning of Pride Month, said Happy Pride Month like everyone else, except mine had a rainbow cake from a bakery visit. I didn't have any money at this time since I was job hunting, so I couldn't afford a new one. So I just posted the one from last year and played it off that the caker made a mistake in writing 2022 instead of 2023. That's my bad for making the lie, and I apologize about the lie. Kairu called me out for it in our DMs. I honestly panicked. There was around 4 to 5 a.m. for me. I wasn't in the right state of mind. So I made a bullshit excuse, which Kairu has leaked about DMs about. And in hindsight, I admit I shouldn't have, because no matter what I would have said, it's not like they would have believed me, even if I was telling the truth. But I do want to apologize that I got you out of nowhere, especially if it was being sincere towards Pride Month. I just wanted to show my support, but also didn't want to make any mentions about my financial status. And he continues on. They were condescending, I was frustrated, and overall our unproductive DMs had many mistakes between us. They want to keep sharing them by chopping them up out of context, then share everything. I admit I lied about the cake. I'm not ashamed about anything else I've said. I don't believe this person should be attacked for their attitudes towards me, but the opinions they tweeted and the people who quote retweet and disagreed with them. They had nothing to do with me conveniently. All I see now is a more respectful tone after more callouts. This year was the year I started everything for BMH, AAPI, and Pride. I don't have previous experience in these matters, but I stated now and in the future, I do not speak for everyone. My talk show was for everyone else to do just that while I listen and ask questions. And talking about the issues and needs these communities face. I gathered those willing to participate in educating myself and the community as a whole, with the hope that these can show the wide range of what can be helpful in and to each community. And Kairu then continued on with the cake thing. Let's play a game of spot the difference. Is there one? Or is this just another reason not to trust me? And then when I get called out for being a liar, I'm willing to triple down on bullshit, thus throwing my character morals and intentions into question. You decide. And to zoom in on these cakes. As a heterosexual man, I just want to say that I support each and every single one of you, sexy and powerful folks, no matter your sexuality. Some of you are actually tempting me from staying straight too. Happy Pride Month. Also, what the fuck is super straight? And there's the cake. Happy Pride Month. Although I am a heterosexual man, I always supported the LGBTQ community. Since I was just a boy, I always thought of you all as people. My blessed friends coming out. No matter the hardships, know you at least have an ally in me. This cake's on me. And again, Happy Pride Month. Although I am a heterosexual man, I always supported the LGBT community. Since I was just a boy, I always thought of you all as people. And two blessed friends coming out. No matter the hardship, know you at least have an ally in me. The cake's on me. Wait, what the fuck? I get supported the community, but now I see a full context about the cake. This is just... It just literally boils down to why I had a distrust for his intentions. It has nothing to do with the show. It has to do with they being genuine or utilizing the mark for gain. Literally it. Like, I read their post about it. Sure, they had money issues, but you can literally do anything else. I just felt lazy when I look at it. I tried to read both your replies and you did have genuine concerns. I was just surprised at his long-ass response. Let's just be honest, that's it. At least then I know they aren't a liar. They actually take accountability and are trustworthy. That's cool. Literally it. Motherfucker just used the same cake from last year. Yeah, this should have been appease the gays. Worked last year. Don't even gotta change the dates. Unreal. Okay, here we go. For anyone who wants to read them all, it's an essay's worth of shot, but here's the full context if anyone cares enough. LOL. And then here come all of the DMs with Dancho Horang. So normally I wouldn't have said anything, but I was brought to my attention that your talk show features multiple days with someone asking a question that was conveniently similar to the comment I made on your post. Being straight up, I do not submit that question. In fact, I didn't even see where you were taking submissions for questions. But after hearing your comments and digs egging your guests on your show, there was something I noticed. You made the show to help bring queer voices to the spotlight and help them share their thoughts, experiences and opinions as members of the LGBTQ+ community. I found it incredibly interesting that you decided to add the question which served no purpose to your goal. In fact, the only reason you brought it up to your guests was to have them side with you and bash on whoever did ask the question. I also went through and correct me if I'm wrong and look at your previous talk shows. Which episode is queer focused to do the same thing you did with the LGBT+ community this time around? And one final note as to why Initial posted their comment in your thread. I find it very unbelievable personally. You should truly care as you claim. With mistakes like this, and again, it's that fucking cake. And more of that fucking cake. 2 separate years, the same photo, framed as though you do this every time. And linking the definition of capitalize. Because why the fuck not? One more. Alright then, let's talk. I'll respond to each of the points you've made. I apologize in advance if I also take passive-aggressive tone. Whether or not you actually put the comments onto my talk show, I take your word for it. And you're right, I made this talk show for my Pride Month so these who identify within this special month can express themselves. And also give aid to those who might be struggling in their identities. From the start to finish, that has been the idea of execution. and has not changed since then. This is the goal, and while you found that incredibly interesting by your own words, I found it insightful. Why? Because the question allowed the panelists to expand upon that's right to do by members of the LGBTQIA and its allies said community. I even spun the question, keeping in mind individuals such as yourself who were dissatisfied with that I was running with the talk show by asking what are the methods that allies can properly show their support. Every single guest I had on had thoughtful answers. I added that specific question for a few reasons, which I'll explain to you. Which I explained to you since you did not know. I don't make the questions, in case that's what you were insinuating. I have people ask questions or share their stories, good or bad, anonymously to tell on them, to which I copy and paste to keep the original intent of the question as much as possible to Marshmallow Q&A because their layout is easy on the eyes. I don't add the ones that are purely offensive or nonsense. I add as many as I can and only remove some for the time-related reasons. So that specific question, it was funny to me that such a question was actually put through. If that wasn't you, then I praised the individual with the balls to do so. As one of my guests said, it felt like bait, and I expressed multiple times throughout the talk show that I was sure it wasn't you, even though others thought differently, so it was a-okay to put it in. Also, I am a petty man. I don't hold myself to higher standards to others. Quite frankly, don't have the time to play a holier-than-thou attitude. I've always stated this and never hid this about me. The first day, I added it because that's just how the show goes, but I won't lie, I was looking forward to it popping up. What I did not expect, however, was the support that my guests have given to me. In fact, on the second day, I simply didn't think about the question until I showed up again. I was looking forward to an ego stroke, but my eyes were truly opened soon after. The third day, I genuinely forgot to remove it, but each time my LGBTQIA+ guests were fiercely defensive of me and genuinely supportive of what I've done and been doing, it humbled me and made me feeling like this was worth doing. You may eye-roll me about this, but honestly, you aren't the only person to do comment as such, which brings me to my next point. I am not responsible for your misinformation, but will admit there was miscommunication between us. I told you to look at my other talk shows. I read again and knowing the context. I meant to look at the other two talk shows I did for BHM and AAPI, because that's what I believe were being passive-aggressive. So yes, I was confident you could look at the other works, so that I did not give platform to those important ones. But no, you thought I was referring to my Pride-specific talk shows I did. Then about the cake, is that supposed to be your gotcha moment? I didn't think it needed more clarification, but let me give you a bit of context. That rainbow cake is sold at the bakery that I used to work at, but I left a year ago. Still, I knew where my favorite spot to take for pics each time, believe it or not, is a corporate bakery, so that means all the cakes will look exactly alike because the cakers are told to make them exact same every time. I'm still friendly with the staff there, so I asked them to make the same cake that was made in 2022 with the same decorations. Unfortunately, for me and you, the caker is Hispanic, so there was a miscommunication with us, in which they added 2022 instead of 2023, or perhaps they even forgot, who knows. Not sure why you hang up on this part in particular, as I've read your subtweet include this as well. Yes, every year includes the 2 years of the free when this rainbow cake was available purchase, and I thought it was a cute start to adding Pride Month after 2021 to show my support like other customers do for the LBGT friends. That's my bad. I'll make sure there are no problems during 2024. Whether you believe me or not is up to you. Like how I believe whether or not you did and didn't add the specific question. Then lastly, let me once again state that you aren't the only person commented as such. I added that specific question because it's the first time someone had the audacity to add it the safe space where people can add their experiences, stories, or questions anonymously. I've heard my fair share of the same doubts or passive-aggressive manners through all the special months in comments or DMs. There was a death threat sent to me during BHM and the same black man harassed and spamming me in DMs until I had to block him. People say I was doing this for clout during AAPI, even deny that I am Asian. Even during Pride Month, you're not only person to have said anything, but I applaud you for not calling me cis scum. And I get it. I understood where each and every single one of them you were coming from, but they still pushed through. And as you can see from here, to interrupt this DM reading for a moment, you see how cultists, because yes, to me they are cultists, how they behave about that sort of thing. If you aren't part of their pack, you might just as well be an enemy. Let's continue, because we still have a lot of things to go through. The amount of work I put behind each and every single one of these talk shows, I won't allow you to invalidate them. The amount of effort I put, the sheer stress of worries I go through, finding the right individuals who will get along with each other. You have no idea what goes on behind the scenes and what I'm going through in my real life, where I almost couldn't even go through the Pride show. But I did, because I genuinely wanted to hear what the LGBTQIA+ community had to say. You don't know what goes on in my DMs, where I had to comfort my friends who came out to their parents. You don't see their tweets where I openly show my support that they came out non-binary. So I'm sorry I don't tweet out every single letter of support I give to my friends and people. I wanted to learn. I wanted to hear their voices. So your dissatisfaction towards me and my talk shows, let me ask you why you're so hung up on the fact that I only had the time to do this during Pride Month, as if it belonged to some corporate that capitalizes on this month. The subs, gifts, and views I receive aren't even sustainable enough that I would do this out of greed. Even the other Pride guests with me expressed so much confusion. As much as I respect the LGBT community, respectively, you aren't the only individuals that exist. There are POCs, women, men, so many types of people I want to go through, but only so much time to balance and manage. Ironically, putting that specific question in the talk show, and my guests and friends giving their invaluable insight and support towards me, who appreciate how much of an ally I was to them, and was the reason I decided to answer you, instead of ignoring that like the others. I don't believe you are a bad person. I respect your opinions to let the LBGT support only LGBT during Pride Month. But quite frankly, I'm going to continue as I do. Outside of Pride Month, inside of Pride Month, in the same way for any other special months or opportunities I can gather. I'm going to continue with the people that believe in me, with or without you. And then he replied, I did not state that the questions were not in line with your goal. I find it interesting that you wanted to include a question specifically for your own purposes. It served no one in the community but yourself. Allies are not part of the community. Allies are simple people who support the queer community and actively made the strides to assisting them. Oh, so they're kind of like servants to you. Jesus Christ. On 3 separate days, you did not simply forget about the question. You can only tell a day 2 and 3 were excited when it flashed on the screen because you simply wanted it to reappear. Don't play stupid acting like you didn't think your guest chat wouldn't defend you and rip that question to shreds. You don't seem like a dumb person, so I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt on that one, that there is a chance you lack the social awareness and tag the framing of obvious expected result of the question appearing. I look at your past talk shows. Congrats for giving the POC and AAPI communities a voice during these months. I specifically stated I would look for shows geared towards the queer community outside of Pride Month, and you responded with good luck with that, smiley face. There's no misinformation that was laid out there in clear view. Now on to the fun part, the cake. Now I understand you're just playing the fool. The picture at the exact same dance show. The exact same. You're really trying to die on the hill. That's not the case. Anyone with the eyes I've shown it to could immediately spot that it's the same picture. If not the background, the writing itself is mirrored. Being a true ally to the community during Pride Month means that you should know it's time to step back. Let queer content creators give their fellow queer members the voice, and if you genuinely did care about giving their voices out to be heard, why not have more smaller creators on your platform? Why did this show only have 11 larger creators who are already an established base. I say 11 because one at least had under 2k. Why specifically on only larger creators? What about the little guy? Why not give them a chance to speak too? Don't hit me with the time, because Pride Month was one whole month. One of the days you could have given the chance for those without large audience already. That in of itself seems disingenuous. Also, stop playing the victim and play card with how there was a chance you couldn't go through with the show. That's not even relevant to the conversation. It serves zero purpose. Giving a support to your friends and helping them when they came out as non-binary? Okay. And? That's not the point of the conversation. You're drawing arguments from the most wildest place, and it's honestly silly. Oh, and get a dictionary, please. To capitalize of someone that doesn't only mean to make money off of it. That's why capitalize was linked previously as part of the DMs. The first definition of the word is one, take the chance to gain advantage from. So already that point is moved. All in all, the point of this was that you, as an ally, if you truly are, you'd have already understood the Pride Month in the month for the marginalized group. Be prideful in who we are. Allow those creators to give the voice and not yourself. Had you done something similar to this talk show on a non-Pride Month, 11 months out of the year, I can almost guarantee you that the negative responses to what you're all in all, the point of this was, as an ally, if you truly have already understood the Pride Month in the month of the previous of the marginalized group. Be prideful in who we are. Allow those creators to give the voice and not yourself. Had you done something similar to this talk show and non-Pride Month, 11 months out of the year, I can almost guarantee you the negative responses to what you're doing would be minimal. But as it stood, a straight man making a talk show only featuring larger LGBT plus creators on the last days of Pride, at only other time during the entirety of this month, looked off. So this is the tone you're going with. Regardless, I still be responding as respectfully as I can. First, let me simplify it for you. The question put in the spaces where I set up question for anyone answer, tell me, why wouldn't I put that in? The attack on me, like this talk show, could have been simply removed, yes, but I would have still added said question whether or not it would have included it. Why? It's part of the questions. I added most of the questions that were harmless in, so tell me why I would remove that. I've stated to you that day one was I was clearly looking forward to it. I didn't think much of it in day two, but I was ready for it like I was in day one. What I didn't expect was how far they go to defend me. I don't have to explain further to you other than the day 3, I genuinely did forget to remove the question, and I was moving on from said question as fast as I could. Whether you believe that or not is your problem. Now with how disingenuous you sound with the other talk shows, since you clearly couldn't even watch the POC VODs, since that have been long taken down from my VOD just proved my point. I've started to talk that you can look at my other talk shows, which I specifically mentioned towards AIPI and POC. You did state to me that you would show me outside of my own channel that gives voices to the LGBTQI plus community. I said good luck with that. What you're interpreting, however, is far off from the messages you are clearly spitting at me. The cake, I had almost enough further words to share with you. You clearly find fault even though I've explained to you exactly what happened. Personally, I disagree with the true ally statement. I have multiple people you can speak to that will disagree. Just as you have multiple people that will agree with your side. I respect that, but stand my ground in that I will support the ways that I can. I've also spoken to numerous creators, and it's odd to me that you specifically bring up numbers in this case. But I will agree that I haven't given voices to smaller creators as much as I would have liked. Almost seemed like pity to me to choose people specifically because they have lower numbers, and personally I would never want to be picked for that specific reason. That itself sounds disingenuous to me. I wanted this platform to reach as many audiences as possible, so I will give you that. I should have reached out to more small creators, but my main concern for my guests is that get along each other first and foremost. guests uncomfortable with each other due to anxiety or not vibing is not something I don't want to explain myself to why I prioritize that. You say not to mention time, yet I was absolutely on a time crunch. If you clearly look at the other talk shows like you said, then you should have seen the entire month where I barely had time to even stream to my in real life situations. That you will not take away from me, no matter how much you think you can act that anyone can do as they please. In fact, no matter what I say here, it clearly seems to me that you will only find faults within my statements. You're discrediting everything that I went through to make this talk show work. Stating that is not relevant to our conversation? How? How is that not relevant when I am doing everything I can to support as an ally myself behind the scenes? And you're painting me as someone with self-serving interests. Hell, I even mentioned capitalization of corporates and the gift and viewership as two separate points. You want to speak to me of disingenuous? Anything you tweet out about concerning straight individuals are all about same generalization on what they seem to just do everything wrong. Much like those male VTuber tweets that's been the rage all the past few weeks. Hell, the only messages I found about you supporting the pride of the LGBTQIA+ community is, oh hey, talk shows. As someone who's seen that much of the Asian American communities, just because you're part of the community does not mean you actually support the community, which you are calling me out for. In fact, the more I speak to you, the more it seems that you simply wish to find fault in everything that I'm doing. Simply because I'm a straight man who simply hosted a talk show for Pride members to speak. In fact, you ignored many of the points I've made. Oh, I absolutely will provide more chances for Pride, POC, and other marginalized groups to be spoken, but I don't have to prove anything to you. I guarantee you that no matter what I do, folks like you will always find fault in what I'm doing. I find doing anything worthy of celebration at the end of the month to be the most heartfelt and fitting. It gives me a great amount of prep time to ensure everything goes well on the day off. Like I've stated, you and the others have expressed your disgust, yet at the end of the day, meet many more with options opposite of more positive from yourselves, from the LGBTQIA+ individuals I've befriended and honored to have just met. I'm not part of the Pride community, but I damn straight am an ally whether you seem to believe it or not. As much as I would like to have a purposeful conversation, I don't believe we'll have that between us. No matter what I do, like you always find a fault in what I'm doing. Finding anything worthy of celebration at the end of the month to be the most heartfelt and fitting and gives me a great amount of prep time and sure everything goes well on the day off. Like I've stated, you and others have expressed your disgust, yet at the end of the day, I meet many more with opinions opposite of positive from yourself, from the LGBTQIA+ individuals I've befriended and honored to have just met. I'm not part of the Pride community, but I damn straight am an ally whether you seem to believe it or not. As much as I would like to have a purposeful conversation, I believe we'll have that between us too. While I understood your points, I don't believe you with mine. I'd only agree to anything I would state if I conform to your mentality. So respectfully, state what you want. Only wish you a good rest of the year. And then he responds again. You remove the questions because it has nothing to do with the show. Your guest experiences as queer people. What part of that do you not understand? Day 2, do 2 timestamp 3:15. Listen to the segment and come back. Tell me that you were planning to remove it. Didn't you weren't? We're actively looking forward to the next day response to sure that's also something that Day 2 VOD as well. No one is spitting anything at you. Stop behaving like a child. I clarified my message that I was looking for queer specific outside of Pride Month. Why you keep harping on BHM and AAPI shows I don't understand. The cake, you're a liar. Plain and simple, don't you? And you're willing to lie so much about the tiny detail, it draws me into question your intentions and morals throughout all of this. Allowing other creators on despite size is a good point because you manually chose to add into your show. What you're telling me is not a single smaller creator had a story, insight, or experience that was on the same level as those who were selected. And vibe checking before you show it is not very difficult. Get them in VC earlier before your show and hang out with all of them. That's a lot of different avenues you could have gone for quality assurance there. Planning for an event as large as this could have been thought up and spread over the months prior to Pride. I planned and scheduled my shows and research well in advance. Also, as I stated, you're using the wrong definition of word I used. Context-wise, capital financial gain made no sense in the context of my comment. Yet you harp on it even after I explained. Taking advantage of the time and situation, engagement and follows is something you didn't end up getting. The only person constantly mentioning you doing this is for purely financial reasons is yourself. Me mentioning something about straight people is serious, but sometimes it's also satire. You take everything I say personally and seriously. That sounds more like a you problem. The only thing about the LGBT community you seem to do are the talk shows, and did some digging, eh? You also saw the initial talk show I hosted that featured all walks of life from multitude of different backgrounds, sexualities, etc. I'm sure you know the charity events I have planning for queer youth. I've been working with my mods, but I haven't publicly spoken about. Zoinks? Imagine trying to actually come at someone who is part of the community to try, and they're not doing enough in the community. Not a good look. Also, what you're trying to play is the victim card. Jesus Christ, bud. Nowhere did I say you weren't an ally. When I said was that you were a true ally, you'd get that as a straight man. You don't have to include yourself. Let queer people give the platform to queer people to talk. I'm not actively picking faults. You're actively leaving holes for me to immediately spot initial reads. You're doing this to yourself. And then it continues outside of it, because other people had, decided to roast the guy. And fittingly so, I might say. Homie, what is your issue? My man is out here trying to give underrepresented people a platform to speak. People who might not have heard their voices otherwise. And that irks you? Stop bringing negativity to people who are supporting you and people like you. My opinion was that I wasn't sure of his intentions based on dishonesty from previous posts. That was my first impression of him. That's great, he gave a platform, but I'm solid in my stance that I believe queer creators should give other queer creators the platform on Pride. We discussing things in DM, this got traction all of a sudden, so here we are. You have your views as someone who is his friend, so I respect your decision to have them. As someone who did not know him, this was how I saw it. Hope that clarifies it. I can understand why you'd be cautious, but I think of it this way. A straight man hosting a podcast with queer guests would present things such as other straight people relate, be more receptive / understanding. Limiting it to queer hosts could alienate potential allies. Very true. That's not completely why I said that's simply how I felt, because it's not unusual for non-queer folks to use this time to their advantage, especially after my first impression was the lie to which they doubled down. The entire made-up story when confronted. That's when I began to question the person. I'm glad I gave those platform to speak. I'm staying adamant that I led me to be more wary of the reason why they were willing to lie over something so small instead of initially taking accountability. And more comments about this, also including my favorite racist, Mavis de Luna. Both of y'all for real just talking to talk at this point. Ain't nobody reading your debate on the gay agenda. Just say you don't fuck with him and keep pushing, cause that's all it is. This is the kind of stuff I'll be talking about. You'll get all these words and no communication skill. I remember getting tagged in the talk show host posts looking for people to be brought on. I politely declined because absolutely no way I'm going to talk show hosted by some cishet and potentially white that I don't know. I wish you would listen to yourself sometimes. And then you wonder why people go off at you. Mavis. You dumb unapologetic racist. Dancho is an Asian, but he's a repeatable person, probably meant respectable. It's this VTuber that questioned Dancho's morals and intentions for doing this talk show panel. He did once for BMH and AAPI, so it isn't capitalizing by any means. The situation is being blown out of proportion. Thanks for informing. I said potential because I didn't want to make assumptions. However, my opinions are based on my personal observation. No ill will, just weird vibes. Yeah, you wouldn't want those whiteys to host any talk shows because whiteys make you afraid. I'm always on guard as an indigenous person after experiencing an insane amount of racism in this space. Literally, who's reading reading all of this? I did. I just did, and I felt my brain leaving my skull there for quite a few moments. Also, has this person done anything for Pride Month at all, or do they just want to talk over all the people who went on Dancho's talk show? Said to post the full context, so I did. Didn't think it was hard to understand that. Even saying for anyone who wants to read it. And to answer your question, you can check through my stuff. No, I mean, why are either of y'all bothering other people with this back and forth instead of talking through DMs on Discord right now? Because they want all of their petty stuff to be out there? Because that's the modern internet, that you have to bring your personal issues out into the public so everyone else can be judgmental of your side and either be against you or for you. That's how it works nowadays. Nobody else of this argument needed to see this, and now you brought it into our Twitter to make this blow out of proportion. Also, you ignored my comment about you talking over the other queer people who featured on Dancho's talk show. No offense, but I doubt you actually ever asked their opinion on the matter. I'd rather have a response on that instead. Talking over? Who am I talking over? I made a post about my opinion. It was clear as day is that. Why do I need to get approval of others for my own opinions? Huh? What do you mean who are you talking over? You made a whole post stating that Dancho was being disingenuous by bringing queer people onto his show. You're trying to make it sound like all he was doing was clout chasing of queer people who didn't know any better. Not at all. I stated there was an initial distrust added with other factors. This led me to being sure if his intentions for the show was genuine. Just formed and jumped to a random conclusion there. You're being purposely obtuse and I have shit to do. Talk to other people who quote tweeted if you still feel like arguing. Have a good night. You're the classic case of a close-minded individual that can see past their own perspective. Have a great night. How ironic is this fucking statement? Oh boy. At least we're at the end of this. How rarely any people understand the point isn't cake, but they're dishonest and puts a question on whether or not the person is beyond me. I think what you think to the point was to highlight how we'd be willing to double down on something so trivial in an entirely bullshit narrative. That was the point. Don't get it. You don't get it. And I get it. And my conclusion to all of this is support who you want to support. Don't support groups that shit on you. Support your friends. Don't even try to make it about more than your friends, because this is the response you're gonna get, especially online. Have your friends, support your friends, whatever their identities are, as long as they aren't being harmful to anybody else. And that's it for right now. If you still have brain cells left, join me on the next one. But for now, that's everything. And I'll see you next time.